Fat Louie, Biker Bitches Book Number 2 by Jamie Begley. Young Ink Press publication, copyright 2019 by Jamie Begley. I do not own any rights to this book. I am just reading it because there is not an audiobook available. Prologue. Benedict Montgomery stepped inside the dirty bar, trying not to show his fear as the few people inside all turned to look at him in the doorway. The Corpus Christi heat outside was stifling, and it wasn't much cooler inside the dim bar. Tugging at his shirt collar, he walked past the tables to the bar as the Mexican bartender raised the bar's divider, coming to a stand in front of him. "I'm looking for Cade Reed." "What do you want to drink?" the bartender asked, moving back behind the bar, making it obvious he wasn't there to give out information for free. "A beer will be fine." Once a beer was set down in front of him, Benedict laid some money down on the counter. When the bartender remained silent, he added several more bills to the pile. "He's out back. It won't take long. Have a seat." He moved away to wait on someone at the end of the bar. Benedict took a table at the side of the bar, where he self-consciously sipped on his beer while he waited. Moments later, a door on the other side of the bar opened, and a tall man appeared with his arm around a pretty Mexican woman. They took a seat at one of the tables against the wall, obscuring them in shadows. The bartender nodded his head in their direction, letting Benedict know that was the man he was looking for. Benedict rose from his table, trying to talk himself out of leaving. Only the desperation he felt made him cross the bar to face the man sitting in the shadows. He had to clear his throat before he could get the name out. "Cade Reed?" Dark eyes studied him impassively. "Who's asking?" "I'm Benedict Montgomery. I'd like to talk to you privately, if I may." "Why?" "I would like to offer you a job." "I'm retired. Leave before one of the locals decide to take that wad of cash in your pocket. I'm not interested." With that, he started to nuzzle the neck of the woman he had come in with. Her sensuous whispers made it obvious the couple had a sexual relationship, something he and his wife hadn't shared in far longer than Benedict cared to think about. It had been a long time since his wife and he had even talked cordially to each other, much less communicated as lovers. Benedict could understand Cade not wanting to leave the beautiful woman running her hands over his chest. "George Connell sent me." An aggravated sigh came from Cade before he lifted his head and stared at Benedict balefully. With a nod toward the bar, he said, "Martina, give me about 10 minutes." "It's all it ever takes you," she giggled, standing up, and Cade spanked her retreating ass for the comment. Once she left, Benedict took a chair across the table from the man who didn't look like he was happy with the interruption. "What do you want?" "George gave me your name. He said you could get my daughters back for me." Cade raised his sardonic brow. "Exactly where are your daughters?" Peñuela. It's a city in the south of Mexico." "I know where the fuck it is, and the answer is no. Tell George to find someone else who wants to die. It's a suicide mission." Benedict went pale at his response. "There is no one else. Connell only gave me your name because I wouldn't leave him alone." "Then you're shit out of luck." He motioned for Martina to come back. "Please, I'll pay you anything you want. I'm a rich man. I would go in after them myself, but I'm prohibited from going to Peñuela because I occasionally work for the government." Cade waved the woman away again, and Benedict paused, taking a deep breath. "How much money are we talking?" Benedict licked his dry lips, taking a drink of his beer before asking, "What would it take?" "I don't know. Let me think. It's dangerous. Hell, a dead man can't spend money, no matter how much it is, but there is a number that would make me willing to take the chance." "What is it?" $100,000. "Okay," Benedict answered immediately. Cade's eyes narrowed on him. I'm thinking I should have asked for more. Benedict set his beer down on the dirty table. If you get my daughters out, I'll give you an extra 100 as a bonus. We're talking U.S. dollars, right? Benedict nodded. Damn, that's hard to turn down. One woman may be possible to get out, but two is going to be close to hopeless, he mused to himself. I'll be dodging the gangs and the federales. A man disappears down there in the blink of an eye. I'll make it 300. 100 for each of my girls, plus another $100,000 bonus whenever I have them back. Fuck me, Cade whistled under his breath. You have a deal. Benedict sat back in his chair, shaking. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a handkerchief, and wiped his forehead. He could have paid twice that to have his daughters back. He would have paid twice that to have his daughters back. I didn't know anyone still used those things. Benedict blushed, hastily putting the handkerchief back in his pocket before going to another pocket to pull out 2 photographs, laying them on the table between them. The one on the right is my youngest daughter, Begley. The other is Jane. Jane's blonde in the picture, but she dyed her hair brown a few days before she disappeared. I should have realized then what she had planned. They aren't going to want to give Begley up easily, Cade remarked. She married a young man from Mexico while she was in college her freshman year. Benedict gave a twisted smile. I begged her to wait, but she wouldn't listen. They went to Puebla to visit some of her husband's relatives. That was when Marcus lured her into going to Peñuela. Benedict shook his head at his daughter's innocence. He had begged her not to go there, telling her about the travel warnings in place, but again, she had refused to listen, placing all her faith in her new husband. When we didn't hear from Begley, we became worried. He swallowed hard. It took some investigating before we found out Marcus's family is heavily involved with the drug cartel and wouldn't allow her to leave. My wife and I were searching for a way to get her back when my other daughter, Jane, went in after her. She's now also disappeared. Both men stared down at the picture of Jane, who was the opposite of Begley. Begley was tall and blonde, with rounded feminine curves, which were fully displayed in the little black dress she was wearing. Her golden skin showed she either spent hours lazing in the sun or in a tanning bed. From the spoiled tilt of her sensuous lips, Cade was willing to bet it was the former. She was smiling in the picture, basking in the attention of whoever was holding the camera. Cade would bet his last large paycheck that the glamorous blonde acted like an entitled bitch. Cade shifted his attention back to the next picture. Jane was thin, and everything about her screamed nondescript. She faded into the background of the ugly couch she was curled up on. There was nothing that would make her stand out. Therefore, she wouldn't pose any of the problems her more attractive sister would in getting her out. There were only 2 things that made him take a second look: the silvery tint to her eyes and plump lips that had his dick taking notice. After fucking Martina, he wouldn't have thought it was possible to be turned on by a pair of lips. That one will be easier to get out. Cade tapped the photograph of Jane. Benedict stiffened at the unintentional insult, yet kept his mouth closed. The last time I went in, I retrieved a young man who had gone down to find himself. Instead, his ass was kidnapped. He was a rich kid who felt guilty being born into a wealthy family and thought he would make the world a better place for those less fortunate. He was lucky to get out alive. I made several enemies getting him out. I don't suppose Bailey's husband would be willing to come back. It would make it much easier with his help. Benedict shook his head. He threatened to kill Begley if she tried to leave him. Cade's finger tapped Jane's picture. Why did she go in? She had to have known how dangerous it would be. Did she want to find a man for herself? She wouldn't be the first woman to romanticize. Benedict sadly shook his head. That's not the case with Jane. My wife egged her on, telling her she should do more to help. His hands tightened on the now empty beer bottle. She was trying to get Begley back. Cade's mouth curled. Let me guess. She's not her daughter. No, I had Jane during my first marriage. Her mother raised her, and I was allowed to spend too little time with her. The aftermath of that was I unfortunately aided my wife in spoiling Begley to make up for my absence in Jane's life because I was allowed to spend so little time with Jane. However, I recently retired from my business, so I moved closer to Jane with Begley gone. I stepped down in my role with the government to an advisory capacity to be near her. Cade laughed, throwing his head back. Jesus! No matter how screwed up the relationship is, she should have been smarter than to think she could actually succeed in getting her sister out. I should have known she would try something. She loves Begley. Benedict blamed himself, knowing he should have anticipated Jane trying to accomplish what no one else could. How long had they been in Mexico? Begley 2 months, and Jane a week. How did Jane hope to find her? I have no idea, he admitted. Well, you haven't given me an easy job. I'll get on a flight tomorrow and see what I can do. In the meantime, he motioned toward the woman. Martina, give me a pencil and a piece of paper. The woman set the items he wanted down on the table and then brushed her mouth against his before leaving them alone again. Cade wrote down a series of numbers and the name of a bank on the paper. I expect a down payment of $200,000 in my bank before I board the plane. The rest of the money is to be given to George until I get back. I'll see that it gets done, Benedict promised, and standing up with the paper in his hand. Montgomery? Cade's voice halted Benedict's departure. Which one? Which one? He asked in confusion. If I can only get one out alive, which one do you want it to be? Cade gave a hard sigh, yet stared at him pitilessly. In other words, if I'm in hot water and both are drowning, and I can save only one, which one do you want me to save? Benedict felt his heart rip in two at the choice he was being asked to make. No parent ever wanted to make the decision the cold-hearted bastard was asking of him. Staring back at Reed's unforgiving face, he felt his shoulders drop in defeat as he came to a decision he didn't really want to make. Begley. She couldn't make it on her own. Jane's a strong swimmer. She would stand a better chance of surviving. Benedict left the bar with tears clogging his throat, restraining himself from going back inside and changing his answer. Jane was strong. She wouldn't drown. And he was putting his faith in Cade Reed. George had said he was the best mercenary in the business. He paused, sucking in a deep breath to calm himself. Jane's image came to mind. Her sweet smile, and how she was constantly trying to make everyone happy. It wouldn't be as easy as Cade thought to leave his eldest daughter behind. When he had divorced his first wife, he had thought it would be easy to leave. However, his love for Jane hadn't disappeared or lessened with her absence. Instead, it had grown stronger. He had eventually caved into his ex-wife's vindictive demands just to spend an occasional weekend with Jane. Benedict had to tell himself both of his daughters would survive. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to board the plane home to a woman he had long ago stopped caring about. He had Jane when he was 18, and Begley when he was 21. He had stuck this marriage out because he wasn't about to lose another daughter to divorce. With Begley gone, his marriage was fast approaching the end. The only way he was going to be able to leave was knowing Cade wouldn't have an easy time abandoning Jane. His mouth quirked in the beginning of a smile. Cade was about to meet a woman hard to resist. In fact, Benedict found a new worry, that he might not be able to get her back from Cade once he realized just how special she was.